I'm Tony DeLaRosa, and today I'm the face of America. I am Tony DeLaRosa. I am an anti-bias, anti-racist educator, consultant, poet, writer, and overall cultural broker. So I was born in San Diego, California, and I lived there, went to school on a military base because my family are very close to the military. And from there, I moved to Cincinnati, then moved to Indiana, then moved to Boston, and now, hopefully, for long and good, Miami, Florida. So for me, as a Filipino American, it was really hard when my parents, or this idea of having to become a doctor or become an engineer after I graduate or go to school was a dream that they wanted me to have. For me, I was good at art, I was good at poetry, I was good at literature. So I decided to do that route, and I took poetry in college, and I don't know if people saw me doing anything with that, but as I wrote and I told stories, it started touching other people different ways, and building bridges across lines of difference. And I have a poem that helps teach the other Filipinos about their history. I really believe in knowing your history helps you know yourself, but without history, no self, right? So I'm gonna read this poem that I wrote about, actually this is really good, in New York, Coney Island. It kind of critiques the human zoos of Coney Island and St. Louis. Here it goes. Come one and come all to one of America's finest exhibits. Peer out of their primitive razor blade teeth, broken, not brittle, little, but vicious. When you get close to the baby ones, hide your kids. Not to mention your pets. In America, a dog is a man's best friend, but to them, to Asia's darkest chef, brownest belly, the rabbit will ravage even your women so savage. Them black folks of Asia, them Latins of Asia, them dirty Chinese, them Jungle Book Mowglis, more like monkeys or mongrels. You don't want to miss the part where they eat with their hands. They call it Kamayan sacrificial like the Mayans, but the Spanish did a number on them, see. Praying to us, we didn't even have to try and tame these little beasts, especially when we look basically like Jesus. All we had to do is hold that cross, stake it in the middle, tie them there, and voila. You have yourself the first ever jungle Asian Coney Island human zoo selling like we used to. You remember like how we did those brown and black beasts. Save the man, kill the Indian, kill the human. So that's a poem that kind of talks about history of my identity. People really don't know that Filipinos were treated very similar to black folks and Native Americans here, and have a shared oppression. So a lot more to dig deep. I think what I really challenge other Filipino Americans, other Asian Americans, is to really look at your history and the both oppression points and celebratory points to really understand where we stand position-wise in America. I don't see a lot of Filipinos specifically in senior leadership positions, unless they're in the Philippines. So I really do think, in terms of combating white dominant culture, we really need to start getting data disaggregated, right? One, in jobs in the US, we need to collect data on the census, right? The census is coming up. We need to collect the census data from Philams, Filipino Americans, every specific ethnic Asian subgroup we can. One, because it helps us see a different story of our experience. If you only collect a broad aggregate of Asian data, first of all, Filipino Americans don't all identify as Asian, so you'll automatically miss part of us. Some of us identify as Latino or Latinx, right? People don't know that. But if you don't collect that data and break it down, you won't know anything about our culture. And some of us identify as Pacific Islander. So in Miami, for example, that data is not present. Pacific Islander data is very minuscule, very small. And I'm wondering, where are all the Filipinos at? And I think one reason why our story is suppressed is because that data is not present for us, right? So that's one way I think that America as a whole can really help the Filipino Americans or Asian Americans in general tell a different story about who we are and what we can do, because our potential as Americans is just as equal as anyone else, right? All right, that's not fair to say, right? Based on where we live and where we come from, that definitely intersects something else, and based on gender and all those other identity markers. But our potential as human beings to do something great is just the same.